Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Today is a day when President Biden in Pittsburgh is going to lay out his ambitious Build Back Better agenda. Well, you come to this channel because you get to hear the news before you hear it from traditional media sources, and I am not going to disappoint. I'm going to give you some behind the scenes news about what President Biden is expected to say today when he speaks in Pittsburgh about the Build Back Better agenda. Welcome to this channel. This right here, folks, is a little bit of information about me. My name is Dr. Chhoda. You learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, my story of struggle, and why you should listen to me. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, the economy, as well as our money. Let's start with this tweet on your screen from Jeff Stein over at the Washington Post. Part 1 of the Build Back Better agenda is expected to be $2.25 trillion in spending, $400 billion in energy cuts, and precise details may change, but we are expecting $650 billion in spending on infrastructure, $400 billion in spending on elder, disabled, those who are disabled, $300 billion in spending on housing, $300 billion in spending on manufacturing, and lots of money for the expansion of broadband internet across the country, specifically in rural parts of our country. And as all this is happening, the wrangling, if you will, the jockeying is happening by Democrats to push for even more stimulus. I did cover on our channel yesterday news about 21 Senate Democrats pushing for reoccurring stimulus checks. Yes, you heard that right. Reoccurring stimulus checks and unemployment benefits. In fact, let's show you that letter on your screen right now. Senator Ron Wyden, Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Elizabeth Warren all signed this letter essentially urging President Biden to include more stimulus checks, to include reoccurring stimulus checks, to include unemployment benefit extensions tied to economic conditions in the Build Back Better agenda. I don't think we'll hear the president talk about that when he officially announces, officially unveils, officially sells the Build Back Better agenda to the American people today. But it's very interesting that the Democrats are essentially taking a kitchen sink approach to this and essentially trying to do whatever they can to push for whatever aspects of their agenda they can get right now, because they know it's now or never. Let's show you this article on your screen from the Washington Post. Biden's infrastructure and climate plan emerges as congressional wrangling begins. Liberal Democrats are pushing the president to go bigger on climate mitigation, and Republicans are extremely alarmed and they are balking, as you would expect, at all the tax hikes that the Biden administration is going to have to levy in order to be able to pay for this infrastructure plan. In fact, let's take a look at this chart that gives you a sense of all the spending in this infrastructure plan. The $2.25 trillion plan from the Biden administration, which again, President Biden is expected to unveil today, extends infrastructure spending to healthcare and education. You can see that there'll be $625 billion on your screen for highways, bridges, ports, airlines, water systems, and transit agencies. We're talking, bus stops and, railway stations, the whole 9 yards. $400 billion in spending on home and community-based healthcare, elder care, and care for disabilities. $300 billion for affordable housing, $300 billion to support U.S. manufacturing, $180 billion on research and development, $100 billion on clean drinking water. Yes, there are parts of our country where people don't get clean drinking water. $100 billion on modernizing our electrical grid so that we don't get hacked by other countries, because other countries like Russia have hacked into our electrical grid. $100 billion on high-speed broadband, specifically the extension of broadband to rural areas. $100 billion, which I feel this is extremely important, on workforce development and job retraining. Honestly, I believe that component, the $100 billion for the workforce development and job retraining, should have been much bigger, because individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality, those who have lost their jobs permanently, those who are struggling to put food on the table, to make rent, to keep the lights on, need help, need job retraining. I'm not talking about the sporadic job retraining from the unemployment agencies. The unemployment agencies can barely keep up with what they're doing. I'm talking about a sustained, bold, powerful federal effort to help those who are the most vulnerable amongst us to retrain themselves so that they can get better jobs, higher paying jobs in the new post-pandemic economy, in what I call America 2.0. And folks, I want our viewers and subscribers to know that this is just part 1 of the Build Back Better agenda. There's going to be a second part to the Build Back Better agenda. According to reporting from the Washington Post, the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who we are actually about to hear from in just a second, Jen Psaki said that the administration within weeks will introduce a second legislative package. That second package is expected to include an expansion in health insurance coverage, an extension of the expanded child tax credit, and paid family and medical leave. And White House officials have not explained whether they'll try and pass both these parts at the same time or whether they're going to split these two parts. Now, keep in mind that if they try and pass both of these at the same time, they actually have a shot at getting that done again through budget reconciliation. Here's the bottom line. What the president is expected to announce today in Pittsburgh is going to be somewhere in the range of $4 trillion. And this is where the pushback is happening. Senator Edward Markey, who's a Democrat from Massachusetts, and Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, who's a Democrat from Michigan, announced a climate and infrastructure plan that calls for $10 trillion in spending over the next decade. Yes, you heard that right. $10 trillion in spending over the next decade, and I did actually break that news on our channel. And the initial campaign from President Biden was, the initial effort was to include $2 trillion in spending over 4 years, and a lot of people are saying that that is not adequate. Now, here's something interesting. The initial proposal from President Biden was to spend $2 trillion over the next 4 years, and a lot of economists are actually saying that that is entirely inadequate. In fact, according to Robert Pollin, who's an economist at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, he said that a $3 trillion investment amounted to only 1.3% of the country's gross domestic product. And basically, a lot of economists and climate experts are considering climate change to be the biggest threat not only to America but also to humanity. And here's what the economist Pollin said about the $2 trillion proposal from President Biden, the original proposal that would have been spread out over the next 4 years as it pertains to climate change. This is what Pollin said. That was itself skirting on the edge of being inadequate relative to the climate goals and infrastructure goals. In other words, what economists are saying, economists like Pollin, is that we need to do much more with climate change. Folks, this is a situation where everyone's like, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. And then some of them are saying, we need to do this and we need to do more. We need to do this and we need to do more. And this is the challenge that President Biden is going to try his best to address. I can assure you that he's not going to make every Democrat happy, and I can pretty much assure you that he's going to make every Republican pretty mad. Speaking of Republicans, here's a Bloomberg article, and the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell made his position clear a couple of weeks ago. This is the headline of the article. McConnell rules out backing for tax-funded infrastructure. The Democrats want to increase income taxes on estates, on corporations, on high net worth individuals, and Republican leaders want to eliminate tax on wealthy estates. So you can be sure that if President Biden is going to try and say, hey, we need more money for infrastructure and we need to find a way to pay for this by increasing taxes on the wealthy, the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is going to be like, nah. Now let's shift gears to a liberal Democrat, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal from the state of Washington. Here's reporting on your screen, also from Jeff Stein from the Washington Post. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal on infrastructure and climate change. Democrats should not constrain themselves or limit our ambition because of manufactured concerns about the deficit. We should not wait for Republicans to have some awakening on climate change. We'll be waiting forever. So folks, this is a conundrum. On the one hand, Republicans are concerned about inflation, about prices essentially of goods going out of control. On the other hand, Democrats are concerned about climate change and want massive investments in infrastructure now. So which is a bigger threat? Is it climate change or is it inflation? Or are both of them manufactured threats? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. In fact, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal went one step further. She didn't just talk about the importance of climate change. She wants to do away with the filibuster. Here's the headline of an article from CNN. Progressive Caucus chair says the Senate must eliminate the filibuster or override the parliamentarian. I'm actually going to quote the CNN article. Comments from Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal put House progressives on a collision course with moderates, probably with members of their own party, as Congress is expected to begin work on the next legislative priority for President Biden. Here's a quote from Congresswoman Jayapal. We are going to have to take on Senate procedure in order to really get these things through. Over the coming weeks, the Progressive Caucus, and she's the chair of the caucus, will be prioritizing to reform or abolish the filibuster. The voters did their part and now we have to do our part. We cannot go back to the American people because we didn't deliver, because of an arcane and racist rules. And in support of the infrastructure plan from President Biden, she said this: "We would like to see a great plan that goes big. The Biden infrastructure proposal on the campaign trail was significantly larger. We think there is ample room to get the number up. And as far as Republican support is concerned, this is very telling." She said this: "I welcome Republicans coming along, but frankly, I just don't see it." And so I can tell you that Wall Street is already starting to get nervous. But before I tell you what Wall Street is nervous about, let's hear from the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki from her press briefing yesterday about the infrastructure plan, the Build Back Better agenda that the president will announce in Pittsburgh today. She talks about the importance of the infrastructure plan and what the components are. Let's hear directly from the White House about what we are about to hear from the president today as the internet explodes with the new infrastructure plan from President Biden. You heard it here first on Ignition Time. You've got the entire scoop. I'm actually telling you what's about to happen in the next few hours, but let's get a precursor, a taste if you will, from the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. Let's roll the tape.
Question about your infrastructure proposal being released tomorrow. Is it going to focus more on shovel-ready projects that could get underway right away, or is it focused more on projects that might take a couple of years to get started but could ultimately have a bigger impact?
It's a great question, and I expect we'll have more to outline on how quickly things can happen once he delivers the speech tomorrow. But let me just say that the speech tomorrow is about making an investment in America, not just modernizing our roads, our railways, our bridges, but building an infrastructure of the future. So some of it is certainly infrastructure shovel-ready projects. Some of it is how do we expand broadband access. Some of it is ensuring that we are addressing the needs in people's homes and communities. So there are a range of components that he'll talk about when he proposes his ideas tomorrow, when he lays that out in his speech in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that was an outline of the infrastructure plan from Jen Psaki. Now, how are we going to pay for all this? In the next segment, Jen Psaki commented on tax increases for the wealthy as a potential way to pay for this. And she actually said something that I thought was very interesting. She said, quote, "It may be the responsible thing to do." That's a new one, calling tax increases on the wealthy the responsible thing to do. And that's a very interesting way for the Biden administration to sell it. I just want our viewers and subscribers to know that my personal belief is that the wealthy should pay more taxes. I assure you that under a Biden administration, I will pay significantly more taxes than I did under the Trump administration. And I'm personally okay with that because I do think help should go to those who need it the most. But this is a very interesting way for Jen Psaki to sell the payment plan, if you will, for the infrastructure package. Let's roll the tape and hear comments from Jen Psaki in the past 24 hours as we get ready to hear from President Biden today in Pittsburgh about the infrastructure plan. Let's roll the tape.
How much more should wealthy Americans expect to pay? Will the top marginal rate go back to 39.6% under this proposal?
Well, I expect that tomorrow, again, the speech is really about his vision for creating jobs, good paying union jobs, and really investing in the industries of the future. But he thinks it's the responsible thing to do, to propose a way to pay for that over time. So, and he also believes that there's more that can be done to make the corporate tax code fair. And so I expect that will be the focus of his remarks on taxes tomorrow.
And what about the estate tax? Is that something you're also considering increasing?
Again, I'm not going to get too far ahead of the president's own speech and proposal, and I know we'll be previewing it more in the next 24 hours, but he believes that there's more that can be done to make the corporate tax code fair, to reward work, not wealth, to ensure that we can invest in the future industries that are going to help all people in this country.
And finally, Wall Street is starting to get nervous. I alluded to that earlier. Here's the headline of an article from CNBC. Wall Street awaits Biden infrastructure plan, but it may not be ready for new taxes. So President Biden is about to unveil his infrastructure plan, but these tax increases will probably cause the stock market to get even more volatile. According to a strategist, our view is that tax increases are probably not really discounted, meaning that when President Biden announces tax increases, we could see quite a hit to the stock market. Let's see what happens. That's it, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications if you learn something new. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I want you to know that I work hard on this channel every single day. Right here is a little bit of information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.